Hello, welcome back to Cinexcess. I'm Rob,
I'm Kelly.
and we are back. We had a very long hiatus, and our apologies to anybody who was actually following the show. But we are hoping to bring the show back and continue it and record a little more regularly than we were.
I wish I could say we were on some tropical vacation,
You
but
can say that.
we were on some tropical vacation.
Which, strangely enough, was a island very similar to today's feature that we're talking about, which is Brandon Cronenberg's third film, Infinity Pool. As I mentioned, this is the third film from writer-director Brandon Cronenberg. This follows his 2008 first feature, Antiviral, and 2019's Possessor. I'd read that the inspiration for the film was based on, I think this is fascinating, but interestingly enough, he says it was based on actual bad experiences he had on vacation, which I can't imagine.
Oh,
What kind of horrible
that's
vacation he must have had.
wow, that's a really, really bad vacation.
Yeah, and then he incorporated some elements of a science fiction story he was writing about killing clones into it. But
Oh, okay.
it's the film is also there's several producers, but one of the producers also is Alexander Skarsgård, who stars in the movie along with Mia Goth.
Yeah, he does
And
an excellent job.
and the film, it was filmed in Croatia and in Hungary. And what did you think?
I thought it was great. I thought it was so we watched it twice,
It's true, we
right?
saw this in the theater, one of the few that we have.
Yep, we saw it in the theater and then we watched it here at home, and it was just as good the second time as it was the first time. Maybe even a little bit better because there's some elements of it that can be a little bit, I don't want to say confusing, but your mind is going in so many different directions in the film.
And a lot of stuff is left ambiguous, so
Yeah,
it's not completely spelled out for you exactly
right.
what's happening.
And I don't feel that there's not a lot of downtime in this film. Even the quiet times are not boring. It's filled with details and, leading up to the main idea of the story.
Yeah, so let me give a little bit of a setup, a little bit of the outline of the plot. As I mentioned, the film stars Alexander Skarsgård, who plays James Foster, who is and he's a published author, but almost like a wannabe author. His last book, like he hasn't published a book in 6 years, and he's struggling to come up with ideas. He's kind of got this writer's block going, and is just kind of living off of his wife, who,
Yep.
as she mentions it, kind of that he married rich, and at this point she's almost a charity.
And not only that, is that her dad owns the publishing company that published his book, which kind of puts his credibility, up in the air a little bit. And it was faced with not so glowing reviews. So he is struggling also with kind of a little bit imposter syndrome, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And his wife, as I mentioned, is she's played by Cleopatra Coleman, plays M, his wife, and they go to a resort so James can look for inspiration for his next novel.
An
And
all-inclusive resort.
yep, in a very small island. I think it's obviously a fictitious island, and it's a kind of place where the resort is surrounded by barbed wire. There's guards with machine guns to keep the locals out. There's a incredibly impoverished island, a country
Dangerous, a lot of
that
crime.
that this place is set up on, and the tourists have a curfew. They're not allowed to leave. It seemed like they're not even allowed to leave during the day.
They said they're not allowed outside the gates of the community.
Yeah, and it's an island that has some pretty interesting laws, as we find out that they. So let me go back to this. James and his wife M. They end up meeting another couple, played by
Mia
Mia
Goth.
Goth, and unfortunately, I didn't catch the name of the other actor that played her husband, but I thought he was pretty good. He plays
He
a
was.
character named Alden,
I had
but
not
Gabby and Alden are their names.
I had not
And
seen that actor nor the actress who played James's wife either
I hadn't
before.
either. I was actually surprised by that because I noticed on the posters for this they list Alexander Skarsgård, Mia Goth, and they do list Cleopatra Coleman. So she must be a big name. It's just somebody that I hadn't actually seen before.
Oh.
But Gabby and Alden convince Em and James to actually leave the resort and go out to see some of the island, which is it's kind of interesting because we see the water and we see some of the island, but it looks completely different when they leave. It's actually a really beautiful landscape with mountains, and I know this was filmed in Croatia and in Hungary. I don't know exactly, obviously, where the exterior stuff was shot like that, but
Yeah, they take them for like a little picnic at the seaside, to where so when they're in the resort, they're actually based right in front of this infinity pool, and kind of surrounded like a lot of concrete, and you see the water and there's a beach and everything, but nothing like the what you see when they take a drive outside of the resort. It's really beautiful.
that's right. And you get little elements of the danger, like where they park. You can actually see like a very nice car behind them that's completely burnt out, and it's like, okay, this
Trash.
place is a little bit dangerous. But so they go out and they have their thing. They get a little, drink a little too much, drive home, and there's an accident. And I don't really want to spoil very much, so we will talk a little bit more about what we thought about the film, how it, and then maybe if we, I don't know, we will definitely give spoiler warnings. I think it's hard to actually really discuss this movie without
It is.
spoilers. So
Because the whole beginning of the film kind of centers around the accident that happens as they're driving home from the seaside, from their picnic, and so that's where the drama starts in the film.
so in the interest of protecting listeners who haven't seen the movie, because we don't want to spoil it, let's just cut to whether you would recommend this movie or not.
Oh, I definitely would recommend this movie.
I would too. I
Usually
think that,
with Cronenberg, I mean, he's the David Cronenberg, body horror extraordinaire. And so I thought when I was coming into watching this film that there would be a lot of not so easily digestible body horror, but actually it's not that bad. That would change my recommendation a little bit maybe, but
see, I
I
love
think
that
it's
stuff. I'm a big fan of David Cronenberg's and body horror in general, and
yeah. And
I
I
was
don't
actually
mind
going
it
to try to
usually.
avoid really talking about David during this review because I think Brandon is a artist who stands completely on his own. But
Well, I was just saying
yeah,
that's what I was expecting.
yeah.
But
Well, I mean, if you've seen Antiviral and Possessor, like both of those deal with a lot of the body horror issues too. But
I definitely would recommend it.
I
Back,
would
back
too,
to your
for sure.
question.
I really do think that there are some people who wouldn't enjoy this movie at all, but I think anybody who actually is someone who's interested in cinema and the language of cinema, you would definitely enjoy this film.
I thought it was really thought provoking, for sure. It really makes you think of, what would you do in certain situations? How far would you go in a certain situation that you find yourself in trouble? How far would you go with a group of people you don't know? It really makes you think about what would you do?
Yeah, and I think one of the things I really like I think Brandon Cronenberg is, it's really exciting to have him out there making movies. He's one of those people like Ari Aster who if these people predated us and you fell in love with film, you're going to end up looking these guys up, just like you would his father, David Cronenberg.
Right.
Wasn't alive when his movies were released. End up going out, looking him up, renting every movie I could get my hands on. And it's exciting to have an artist like this that is happening contemporary, and you get to like go see it and experience it firsthand. It's great.
And then you can have that anticipation and excitement of their next film. It's kind of a bummer when you find somebody and they're already gone, and you can go through their catalog of films, but you can only go so far, and at least you can look forward to his new things that are coming out. And I found that I didn't know a lot about Alexander Skarsgård before, and he did a really, really excellent job in this film. I've seen Mia Goth in a lot of her things, and I like her too.
Suspiria.
Right.
Pearl.
I thought she was great. And she's beautiful, and I think she does a good job at that creep out factor while still remaining, beautiful and entertaining. But I thought Alexander Skarsgård did a great job.
I did too. And so I'm going to say, I think this movie definitely, it's nightmarish. It makes you, it's unsettling. The score really adds to that too. Like, it has a fantastic score by, I thought I wrote down his name and I didn't, sorry. But yeah, the score is fantastic. But
it was definitely trippy in some parts, like the definition of trippy.
So let's pause here for just a second, and anybody who wants to see this film firsthand without knowing anything that's going on, just, whether it's worth your time or not, I'd say it's absolutely worth your time. And, please stop here and come back after you've seen the film, if you want to hear more about it. And so long. And the rest of you that are still here after this, let's talk about the movie. So when, I thought the whole thing is like, it's so, it's strange. Like, I think the movie does some stuff that you don't see with a male character. It really, it breaks him down.
Yeah,
completely.
Super vulnerable.
And
He's
starts
super
from
vulnerable in it.
He just, when they're out.
And Alexander Skarsgård is who we're talking about, James.
Yeah, when well, I'm assuming everybody who's here either has seen the movie or doesn't care like stuff and probably won't see it. But just like the scene they're out when they leave and they go picnicking, and he, even like Mia Goth's husband at that point is saying to his wife right in front of James, like, why this guy? Why would you pick the? That's emasculating. James takes it in good stride, but it still is.
Yeah, I think he's
geared towards emasculating him.
Yeah, I think he actually says, "Why would you pick him? He's poor."
Yeah, like why would you pick a poor, starving? And then she's like, "Oh, daddy issues and stuff," and so even that is making fun of him in a way. And then he.
Yeah, she says her dad said, "Don't ever marry a writer," so she went out and married a writer.
Yeah, and she says like she married like the first poor writer who spilled coffee on her or something. But so then he gets up and goes over to take a leak, and James does. Even before he's finished, he's like, Mia Goth comes behind him and like gives him a hand job to completion, and it happens so fast and it's so like shocking.
And before
you can see it all over his face that he like, it really, as a man, it kind of put me in that situation. Like, you always hear about bad things happening to women and like, why didn't you say no or whatever? He's so shocked that it's kind of victimizing. Like, you might think, oh wow, yay, get a hand job from a beautiful woman, but it is like, he's kind of cheated on his wife. If he's gonna talk to his wife, he's gonna have to tell her this thing. How do you explain this? Well, it just like, it really puts him off. It really it.
Well, it's like it's a great visual definition of it happened so fast. You hear people, well, what happened? Why didn't you fight back? Or why didn't you call for help? Well, it just happened so fast. And that's exactly what this visual was when James was basically being assaulted, although, I don't think that he minded it later, but he was drunk and he was off by himself and he's
Yep. And then he's
but he was already being seduced,
yep.
like intellectually, by what's Mia Goth's
M.
that's his wife.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gabby.
He's already being intellectually seduced by Gabby earlier when they first meet, because she's fawning over him with his book and and she's saying what a brilliant author he is, and just by her interest, she's seducing him with her interest in him. And he's a guy, he's vulnerable, he's feeling down on himself. This pretty girl is saying how great he is, and next thing you know, she's jerking him off behind a tree. I mean,
yeah, and it's
that's
really
a good day for him.
Is as you learn later in the film, they are building him up just to tear him down. Like she tells him later she never even read his book while she's reading bad reviews, and it's just
that raised a lot of questions for me, which we'll get to later on after we talk a little bit more about what happens.
But I love the fact that right from the get-go, when the film starts, you really are put on ease, and it shows you things are not what they seem. Like, with just like Cronenberg achieves this with just a simple, like, he goes, there's a few establishing shots of this paradise that they're in, and then the camera just starts to tilt and then turn upside down. Like nothing is as nice as it seems, and I
it
think
puts
that's
you in
really
that.
Well done.
It makes you feel like you're spinning, like if you were on something.
Yeah, which they, a lot of the movie they are on something. They start ingesting this like traditional hallucinogen aphrodisiac, which leads to some crazy orgy stuff too that is filmed really well. Like there's so many things that just really, I think the key word for this is unsettling. This entire experience
It's very unsettling. Yeah.
And I also feel like it deals with some big picture issues that I'm like still grasping with trying to understand, because I know a little bit about psychology, just enough to get myself in trouble. And it's interesting to me that there ends up being 3 of these doppelgangers, and I know that Freud had those concepts of the id, the ego, and the superego, and I'm sure that if I understood more about psychology, I'd be able to really see which one was which. But I feel like that has to be a part of the reason that there's 3 of them, and they're breaking him down. Like he has to destroy each one of these versions of himself to become his real self. And I feel like by the end, we're always grasping with this question of was it him that was executed?
I don't think we talked about the doppelgangers yet.
Oh, we didn't. But like I said, I'm assuming everybody still who's listening has seen the movie.
Okay.
So, because that is the question they even ask that, and that's actually another scene that's filmed really well. It's just like a slow dolly behind people. Like it's really a weird choice of composition, and you can see James, but by the it just kind of gets close up on him, and by then it's like a traditional shot, but it definitely doesn't start that way. And the guy asks whether he has worry that he was if the real him was executed and that he's a copy of himself. And that leads to all these, they don't really discuss this in the movie, but these are the questions that man asks all the time about clones. Like, does a clone have a soul? Is it just an empty vessel? All this. And by the end of the movie, he's a completely empty vessel. They broke him.
Yeah, so I don't even know if it would matter at that point if he was the original James or if he was a clone of James, because one of the main keys to allowing these doubles, so the investigator says, is they have to maintain the memories of who they clone, right? So of course, you have to maintain the memories so you get the real effect when they're facing, their death. But
And I
by
feel
the
like
end, it's
that's part of like what I took in this viewing as evidence for my argument that they probably did kill the real James, because the family knows that James and his wife are there watching this execution. So for them, it would be an empty
gesture,
yeah, like why would they go through with it? But
unless
it's like unless
they
it's
know.
actually the real James. And they're
Right.
just letting James think that he's
On top of the
James.
satisfaction of getting this vengeance for their loved one who was killed, this is the punishment for that. They might secretly get that satisfaction of, well, that it's the real person who's dying, not their
Exactly.
clone. And
And you can see, they hint at them being very religious, even though they don't really go into it. But you could see the argument can be made that this clone is innocent of the crime because
oh,
it's not really the real thing.
right,
So, and he hasn't committed any crimes, even though he
right.
has the same memories and all that stuff.
So maybe part of
So you can
the,
see their culture going like, oh, it's okay for this
like a
person.
rebirth, maybe.
Because
So
he's innocent at that point. But
right, because you did right. So let me ask you this. So I was wondering what the motivation behind the group, you know, particularly Mia Goth, kind of recruiting James into this group of what they called zombies. So, right, people who have had this done before. So, what was their motivation? It wasn't just to have fun with him, because they didn't just have fun with him and let him go. They tracked him down to get this done. They did research to get this done, right? So, what I was thinking is, could it be that they, and this is kind of far off, but could they be recruits for this island to make money for these police to get these people in trouble,
it
and
could
to
be.
it's a little bit far fetched, but I'm grasping at straws trying to find the motivation. Could it be just pure evil?
I think, yeah, that's what my take on it was. I don't know. It's interesting because there is, and that's the complexity of the Gabby character that Mia Goth plays it so well, because at times she seems to genuinely care for James, and then she seems like completely indifferent to him, and at other times she seems to just absolutely hate him and want to destroy him.
That's
And
interesting that you say that, because she did look like she was very concerned when they were all being executed for him.
yeah,
So if they did execute the true beings, could it be that this new Gabby and new James, that she doesn't have that kind of affection for him, that she doesn't have that, you know, empathy for him or attraction to him, that this new shell of what Gabby was is changing?
yeah,
That's very possible.
or is it all just a ruse to build him up to destroy him?
Yeah,
And
just for fun.
yeah, like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, she does tell him that he's just a bit of fun for them on their vacation, but at the same time,
It's a lot of work.
when he does break and kill the last copy, the dog, which is like, that's pretty brutal, actually. It gets
Yeah,
real
it gets
physical.
very physical.
And but she nurses him, and it's like, it is like a rebirth, and then she nurses him, he's an infant, and she does seem to have compassion for him in those scenes. But then when they say their goodbyes, she just really doesn't
See ya.
have any there. She's just like, goodbye, see you. Hope
Yep.
to see you next year. Bye.
Yeah, at least her husband was like, well, it was nice meeting you.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I mean, don't you think that you should say more to me, since we had this, drug-fueled orgy, and murdered a bunch of people.
Yeah, it's
You know?
really interesting. I don't know. There's such a like, I don't know, such a mixture of emotions that she
Yeah.
has for him, and it really comes across. And it is. I like that the film's ambiguous. I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
if this was the kind of
Very.
film that just wrapped everything up with a little bow, we wouldn't be thinking about it
No, and it's not
afterwards.
even close to wrapped up. It's yeah. There's a lot of unknowns.
Yep.
I also thought that was really interesting that I was noticing his reactions because at first, the first time that they go to this prison and the double is James's double is made to pay for his crime from the car accident. His wife is looking away and he's kind of looking on with amazement and interest, and he's just fascinated by watching the execution. And his wife says that it was horrible the way you just sat there and watched. And when she saw his body double too, she was like, "Oh, it's horrible." It was almost like a Frankenstein's monster, right? Like she was repulsed by the idea of this monster that they've created. And he's watching it almost like he's creating this monster along with this government agency, right? So it's a part of him. He's created it. He did the crime, and now this thing that's being done is directly because of him. So is it fueling him because it's like a surrogate for his writing that he can't get done, or I it's
I mean, I
just
feel like if
interesting.
he does suffer from that imposter syndrome, part of that is like a little bit of self hate too. Like knowing, like you feel
That's a good
like
point.
you're a fraud, and all these people are giving you these accolades. But if they only
Yeah,
knew the real you, like they wouldn't feel this way.
that's a good point.
And so there is a lot of self hate in that.
I wonder if he gets a little satisfaction out of seeing
I mean,
himself
well,
be
you see
executed.
him have that the very first time. He like
Yeah.
smiles a little bit.
Well, I mistook that as kind of like excitement to see this being created and play out. But I'd like your idea better, your theory of,
And
self-hatred.
the first time we saw this, I thought that it was interesting that her reaction was like that to him. Like, you're disgusting. How can you sit and watch this? And I was like, what? She sat there and watched it too. So what is her problem with him? But this time I picked up that the double or possibly the real James is crying out for her. He's like, M,
I
do
didn't
something,
notice
do
that the
something.
first time either.
So she has a way more. I mean, I don't feel like you really see it on her face, but she obviously has a way more emotional experience
Oh,
witnessing
yeah.
the execution than he
Yeah.
does.
Imagine, you're the one who's being called out for and you can't do anything. Even though, your husband is sitting next to you. I mean, it's just human nature to want to help regardless. But yeah, that was oof. I didn't notice that the first time either. That's why I'm so glad that we watched it the second time. We picked up a lot of other things. What I thought was really cool too was the symbolism of the masks.
No,
So
the masks were amazing.
during this holiday that they were, or during this vacation they were on, there was some kind of holiday that they were speaking of at the I want to say cruise directors, but that's not right. Just the people that do the entertainment directing for this resort, and they mentioned some kind of holiday, and you can buy these masks, and the masks are hideous. And so I thought it was really interesting that while they're out doing their crimes, they wear these masks, and it's hiding their true self. But it also shows because they're so gross and so repulsive that it shows the monsters that they're becoming. They're kind of losing themselves. They're not themselves, and they're just becoming these terrible people. And the masks reflect that. I thought that was really
Yeah, and I love that because like, if you do take them at face value of what they said, that he's just a bit of fun. Like his mask has this, like, like these things at the top that are almost like a court jesters, like tassels.
Yes.
So he's like the fool.
Yes, yes.
And her mask is so deformed and twisted, but also like kind of sexy at the same. Like it maintains a beauty.
And I would say she's definitely
In the
the
hideousness.
ringleader of this group to
Yeah.
destroy him.
And I love the orgy scenes where their faces. It's really subtle and it's shown in little flashes, but they actually put makeup on, like Mia Goth, to make her kind of look like that mask. So it's like a flesh version of the mask.
Yeah, it's like the mask is melting into her face.
Or it shows their real selves. It's interesting. I do want to mention the director of photography, Kareem Hussein, who also shot Antiviral and Possessor. He's also shot several other movies, but he shot all 3 of Brandon Cronenberg's films. And I mean, I think he does an amazing job. There's so many great setups, and I love the shot where when he is first brought into the police department, the detective comes to interrogate him. The detective's there, offers him a cigarette. Then he tells James to go sit down in the chair. And then they do this great effect, which I saw before in one of the James Bond movies, I think Skyfall, where James walks towards the camera, but he's out of focus, and it gives a really alien feeling to the figure. Like it almost really has that shape of like one of the gray aliens. The head kind of becomes enlarged and skinny neck and long. It's so bizarre, and it almost looks like a CG effect that you would do to make this guy more alien, but it's all shot in camera, and it's just amazing.
Well,
I
it's
love
like
that kind of stuff.
That's a great representation of just a mold.
Yep.
He's just a mold of what he's about to become. And I thought that was great. And I appreciate this in every movie, but I noticed it a lot in this one, that the attention to detail when it comes to the like drug use and the when he's really upset, and when he's James, that is, when he's happy, upset, angry, there's so much detail to like the sweat pouring down his face, and I think I saw a tear come out of his eye when she insulted his book.
Oh yeah.
When Gabby insulted his
hurt.
book. And right, and it's like so much detail.
He's a guy that I don't know, like, not to go too deep into it, but like growing up, I can remember wanting to fit in, and then he finds this group of people who,
can you imagine?
he seems like he's part of, but then really they're just there to make fun of him and betray him, and it's just like,
that's worse than
devastating.
nobody liking you to begin with.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was great. And like when the dog came out, the drool that's coming out of the dog, and just everything was so detailed.
This time, how many shots of Sarsgaard drooling there were?
Oh, there were so many. There was so much drool and so much sweat. And it was like, when you're in a theater, you see it as big as life, but it's not like seeing it really close up at home. And it's like, oh my God. That's what I was saying. The detail in these things was great. I mean, and when he's trying these drugs, this aphrodisiac that we were speaking about, it's an inhalant. And so he's inhaling it, and it's just like, every time he inhales it, there's more sweat coming down. And I don't know. I just really dig that stuff in films. It really it brings it to life for me.
Yeah, it's a visceral movie for sure. It really is in your face. And I was noticing that even some of the conversations were extreme close-ups of an eyeball, not even both eyes, but just an extreme close-up of an eyeball and reaction while they're talking. And it's so unsettling. Like, it really is like, you don't make a movie this way, but you do, and it really, really works.
And Mia Goth, she plays a phenomenal manipulator, and she doesn't even have to say anything. Her facial expressions just really drive home that she's in charge, she's in total control, and she's manipulating everything that you do. And there was a few times in this film where things weren't exactly what she wanted exactly at the right time. And she looked around like, "Pff, how dare he defy me?" And she got it done. But she does a really great job of playing that kind of manipulator. I would
I
definitely,
absolutely agree.
yeah.
Well, I think I've said everything I have to say. Do you have more to you want to talk about?
No, I thought it
No?
was great. Oh, I did. I was going to ask you what you thought about the two markings that I saw on many people's
That was
faces.
a part of the religious thing. That's what the I don't know what you call him, like the guy at the hotel when he was talking about how they're selling these masks. Like they were doing that. They have like a religious ceremony that comes at the end of the season
Okay,
when
so that's a
before the
religious
rains come. So
ceremony.
it's almost like an Ash Wednesday thing
Okay,
where all the locals wear
okay,
these ashes on their face,
okay.
essentially.
Because I was wondering if that was just a little hint of maybe who is pure and who's not, and but that's because I noticed none of the group of these so-called zombies that have been
Yeah, I don't think any of the
recreated, they didn't
foreigners.
have any of those.
Yeah, I think the
Oh,
foreigners don't
okay.
have them.
I was wondering what that was. Okay.
One other thing I noticed too on this that I thought I always liked this kind of stuff, but they show like security cameras, but I love this kind of stuff. Again, but instead of just going out and buying like a Blink camera or something, like you could tell that they made this camera and it's not like anything. It's not a real camera. It looks like an engine. Like it's like a small.
Where did you see those?
They show them in the resort a couple times. Like they see them like moving,
Oh.
but they're like plastic shaped, but it looks like I don't know, like the back of a fan. You know how like
Oh.
that where the motor
Yeah,
for the fan.
yeah.
That's what I mean, a motor, not an engine.
Interesting.
But I think maybe they're the same thing. I don't know. I'm not a car guy, but it's like a case for an encasement for a motor, and then all of a sudden there's like a lens on it, and I just love that kind of weird detail that
Yeah, that's
when
very
they put that kind of stuff in
industrial.
movies.
Next time I watch it, I'll have to look out for that.
Yeah.
There was one other thing that I was that kind of baffles me, and I wonder if it's the truth or what the deal is. But when Gabby brings out the dog, so to speak, to James for his sacrifice to become whole again, where is she getting these many copies of him, these many clones? Did she really?
That's the same one like that they when they told James they were going to kidnap the detective because the detective was standing in the way of him getting his passport,
Right.
which I always think is really interesting because he never once lets on. James hides his own passport.
Yeah, he hides his own
and
passport
he's
'cause
just
he
like,
wants to
okay,
stay.
sure, this guy's standing in the way.
But
Which, I
but
mean, I guess he might be standing in the way of
did
getting
they
a
really pay
replacement.
for that?
But, yeah, well, that's what they said, that they paid him to make one just to have a bit of fun, like to
And
play a
there's-
practical joke on James. But,
It's just interesting how many of these clones are going around.
Yeah.
If he didn't know and he didn't give his permission to make this extra clone, then who knows who anybody is? Who's
Yeah.
real and who's not?
No, it's really a movie that you can just think about. I remember the first time we saw it, I thought about it for like 2 weeks at least. It really is something that sticks with you, and
Yeah.
that's what I love. I mean, you donate 2 hours of your lifetime to a movie, and sure, I like popcorn movies just as much as anybody else, but it's also nice to be like, man, I got like 2 weeks of entertainment just pondering this movie. From
Yeah,
that
I have a lot more
experience.
questions this time around, this viewing. Like, you're supposed to, one of the key elements is to maintain memories. Well, on that second execution, none of those people remembered what was going on. So were they the real ones? Were they not?
I feel like that part is interesting. And it is like, that's one of the things that my mind kept looping on was they don't seem to know that they're clones. And
Right.
And the detective says, his country isn't a playground for rich babies, and he feels like setting an example. and they all really react like they're,
Right.
they didn't expect this.
Right.
But then, so I feel like at least right there, I feel like they were all replaced. Like the country doesn't want a bunch of questions from American embassies and shit like that, of what happened to all our people and all that. So they've already replaced them, and then
So do you think
they're
that
just
those
like,
are
you know
the
what, screw these
original people that were...
I think the original people were executed there and replaced with copies.
That's what I think too, because I
Yeah.
think that was the last time in the film that I saw that Mia Goth or Gabby has any kind of true feeling toward James, because she's screaming for him. And after that, she just kind of has this kind of disgust for him. He's just a weakling to her.
Yeah.
So
No, I agree, and I do think, but that's what, especially on, I thought that the first viewing, and on the second viewing, I came away convinced that that execution in particular definitely was the real people. You know,
well, I'll tell
they're
you,
sitting
they all
in the
deserve to
room.
go.
I mean, visually, Cronenberg is kind of telling us that they are, because they are in the room that James is waiting in for the detective to come talk to him before anything else has happened.
Right, they're in
But
their
when he's-
gowns,
they're
waiting to
all
be
there
cloned.
waiting,
Yep.
and you don't see James go back to that room after the
Right.
process.
No, right.
So I feel like that is before the process.
Right, that's
But
what I
they
was
must
thinking
have
too.
their DNA stored or something that they can just make these.
Make the
these copies,
duplicates and say, okay, now, and the one last thought before I go that I just realized, the detective or the investigator did say it's very rare that we get it right the first time. And so maybe that's the key to the downfall of these people, is that every little bit, every time that they clone, they lose a little bit more of their true self and become these,
Yeah, they definitely become more monstrous,
moralless.
more like assholes. Really, I mean.
Oh, they are
spitting
rich
pits
babies.
at,
They're
spitting
being rich
pits
babies.
At other guests
Yeah.
and stuff while people are trying to eat.
Yeah. Even I can't imagine anybody that I know, even at their most inebriated or, out of control self,
I
would...
unfortunately have been around people.
Okay. Well, different parties. But, yeah, I can't imagine being so brought down to that level.
And that's the question: is it finding out that there's no consequences to what you do, or is it that you're making a bunch of copies that lose their soul a little bit each time that they're made,
Right.
to where they're just empty in the end?
Right. And then when does this become a point of, well, there is no consequence. I just have somebody, a clone, a surrogate, to take my place. There is no consequence.
No.
Except for money, which isn't James. It's his wife's.
Yep.
And her father's.
That's where I
so.
thought the movie was going to take like a more obvious turn, and because he gets in a fight with his wife, I thought he would get in trouble and not have enough money to
Oh, yeah. Oh,
make another
that
clone,
would have
and
been...
that'd be
yep.
the last shot, like kind of a
Yeah.
Midnight Express shot of the
Yeah.
camera moving away from him.
Like he goes to the
screaming while he's
ATM,
being
which is...
executed, and
Right.
there's nothing
Yeah.
to be done.
Right. And that would have been an obvious one, So I'm glad they didn't go with that. But, yeah, that would have been... I mean, it would have certainly been warranted, because he was a real dick.
Yeah. So, I think that's it for Infinity Pool. I think
Yep.
2 strong recommendations from both of us.
Yeah, definitely.
And I hope you'll come back for the new Cinexcess as we revisit movies, both old and watch some new ones. And
we'd
give our
love to
thoughts
hear
and-
any kind of thoughts that you have.
Yes, please.
Share on Instagram or YouTube. That would be great.
Great. So, okay, everybody. Well, thanks so much for joining us. And this has been another episode of Cinexcess.
Bye.